Classic next spring. We've got Sweet 16 at Toyota Center next spring, and of course, FIFA 2026 World Cup. So, Sports Authority is very busy, very active. Glad to be here. Certainly working with all of our partners here, and I call them partners and friends, and excited to be a part of this. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Martye, and I am the current CEO and Executive Director of the Harris County Youth Sports Corporation. Ryan Walsh is my predecessor, and like he said, our organization oversees the 350 acres that make up NRG Park. Our two major tenants are the Houston Texans and the Houston Livestock Rodeo. And so we are a very busy group. We don't just have a stadium, we have an arena, we have a center, and we host about 500 events a year. So we have more events than we have days in the year, so we are very active and very busy on the sports space and also in the entertainment and concert space and convention space. So we are looking forward and getting ready for FIFA. We are in the process of getting the facility ready to host such a major event, and I'm sure we'll get more into what that looks like as the panel discussion proceeds. But thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Canetti, and I'm currently the president of the Houston 2026 World Cup Host Committee. We work very closely with everybody here on the panel in organizing the World Cup here in Houston next year. I came to Houston back in 2006 to help launch the Houston Dynamo. I was with that club for 13 years, helped be part of the process of building the club. Had a great 13 years there. We came over in 2019 to lead the bidding efforts to bring the World Cup to Houston, and since we won in June of 2022, we've been leading the hosting effort. So good to be here today, and look forward to telling you about the World Cup next year.
Thank you so much. I also just want to give a shout out to Brian, Shane Jenkins, and Glenn Davis, who spoke earlier. All have incredibly interesting perspectives that I'm glad I got to catch a little bit of. It's great to be sitting along this group. The fact that Martye is sitting next to her predecessor and I am sitting next to mine. There's a couple, at least one person in between Chris and I and Houston Dynamo, but it's interesting and well done to whoever put this together. My name is Jessica O'Neill. I have the pleasure of serving as the President of Business Operations for the Houston Dash, the Houston Dynamo and Shell Energy Stadium, which is a soccer-specific venue located downtown that some people in the room got to see yesterday, and if not, hope to welcome the rest of you at any point this season. We are working closely with everybody up here and a variety of stakeholders on so many things, but as you can already tell, this is a soccer city, and I'm just excited to be here. It's been 3 years for me in Houston, so I'm not a native, I'm a native Floridian actually, but as Jen described, I'm one of many who have come to this great city, realized how many things are underrated about the market itself, and proud to call it home.
Thank you, guys. Chris, if you don't mind, we're going to get started with you. I had to read up on Houston Dynamo this morning. I actually thought they were one of the old school founding members of the league, and then I realized this morning they're not. They're actually an expansion team, and Brian was talking about the move here and how it worked. Can you, just to set the stone here, the start of pro soccer in Houston, how did you experience those first 2 years? And expansion team immediately to championship. Did that set the foundation of where we're going to be today and where we are?
Absolutely. It was a great launch of the club back in 2006. It wasn't technically an expansion team because it was a relocation from San Jose. So we had a great group that came here on the technical side of the team. But fortunately, we had a great launch, and we won back-to-back championships out of the gates. And Houston is a town that really loves its winners. So it helped us build relevance right off the bat. We, of course, played the first 5 seasons out at Robertson Stadium at the University of Houston, which was a great home, but we ultimately needed a home of our own, and it was outstanding when we were able to open what then was called the BBVA Compass Stadium back in May of 2012. So there's been a great progression and growth of the club over time, and lots of success on and off the field.
How important were those first 2 championships to ask for money for that soccer-specific stadium?
Yeah, it's a good point. It probably helped quite a bit. Again, everybody loves winning. Winning builds energy and momentum. So to be winners and be in the headlines, year after year, brought a lot of excitement to the city. So that certainly, I think, helped bring people together and helped see the picture for a stadium. What really helped, and I think put things over the top, is 2010 All-Star game at NRG Park when the MLS All-Stars hosted Manchester United. That was really a great opportunity for everybody to see the power of soccer in a way at a time when we were vying for the support for the stadium. And I think that was really a defining moment. We all moving over? Is that the request?
Okay, I'll keep moving then. So, Brian, you were those years, or a little bit later, you joined with the Sports Authority. I'm assuming you were part of those early conversations about bidding for the World Cup together with Chris and some others probably. Can you walk us through those first conversations? What was the vision? What led you guys to really go into bidding? And of course, you're bidding because it's the fourth largest city, but what were the conversations about? Was it really, hey, the World Cup is going to be a great party, we want to be a part of this? Or was there a bigger angle here of, hey, this is what we want to accomplish and we can use the World Cup to make it happen?
That's a good question. I think a lot of those questions, specifically, Chris would know more about. He was in kind of the planning efforts of the bid itself, and certainly from a venue perspective. I mean, without NRG Stadium, we wouldn't be hosting any of the matches for the World Cup, so we were excited to be a part of that. Certainly, NRG Stadium, as with all of the stadiums in the country, are NFL specific, right? So they're not FIFA specific. So that was part of the question was, can an NFL stadium in the United States host a FIFA regulation match? And I think quickly answered that yes, that was the case. So for us, it was an exciting adventure. It was exciting to really think through the gravity of it. And I think back then, you think World Cup is this thing that happens every 4 years, and it's really cool. Everybody watches it. And I think it's really sunk in over the years of, holy cow, we're hosting a World Cup in Houston. And it's the gravity of the event itself started growing and growing as we went through more and more planning and realizing that, okay, this is actually going to happen. And then we were selected as a host city, and it's, okay, this is real. Now we have to actually do some stuff. There's a lot of preparations that go into an event like this, as you might imagine, but certainly from a venue perspective, and Marty can talk about those and kind of how they're going on, but for us, from the authority perspective as well as the corporation perspective, I think the message to take away was this is a really fantastic opportunity, but the more you start thinking about it, the more you realize this is a really big opportunity for you.
So before I ask Marty about the Energy Park and the stadium, you now as going into the Sports Authority world, does your vision change about what the World Cup is about? Has it evolved since then, or how do you view it now?
In the way that it's evolved is obviously there's a broader canvas that I work with on the authority versus just the venue. There's certainly a lot more moving parts that Chris and his team are dealing with as part of the authority and the host committee. But for me, really, the vision at the end of the day, what I tell our staff is, this is not a sports authority event. It's not an NRG Stadium event. It's not a host committee event. This is an event for the city of Houston and Harris County. This is an event for our region because it's going to have such a broader impact. And Chris said, correct me if I get the stat wrong, but there was 125 million people that watched the last Super Bowl, and the average viewage for a World Cup match is 190 million. So you figure the eyes of the world are literally on the city of Houston and in our region. So I think for me, that's the perspective that I work with every day, is ensuring that our team doesn't lose sight of the fact that we're hosting the largest sporting in the world in the best city in the country. So.
And we're going to explore what that means to the city. Right? But it starts right there with the Energy Stadium, 7 games. I assume you're excited about it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we're excited about it. This is a chance for us to kind of show the world and be on a global stage of our ability as Houston and Harris County to host large-scale events in a way that makes us proud and in a way that makes it a success for not only us, but for the people that are coming to attend this event. From a facilities and from an operational standpoint, of course, we have a timing issue, right? So we have to get things in motion and have a leeway for timing in terms of construction. For example, the field, getting it beach ready, making sure that the dimensions are correct. So bowl modifications have had to take place, planning for that, contracting for that, getting those projects started so that we're in time for the games. Also, too, they play on the grass, and we have turf for the Texans. And so growing the grass and having contractors and specialized technology that go into making sure that we have the grass prepared, the right air conditioning. There's technology that goes under the field in terms of air and cooling and water that has to be in place so that the grass can grow. Ordering special lights and lamps that are there to be able to do that. So all of those things are underway, and from a timing and a logistics planning standpoint, we're excited about it, we're poised, and we're moving forward.
Quick follow-up question on the grass then, because I know with the Cowboys and AT&T, the suites have to disappear around the field, right? So afterwards they're going to go back to turf and they're going to pretend it never happened, because they can't really make that change. Are you guys able to make a change to real grass? Are you guys going to continue with it, or are you going to do the same thing as Chad who said, no, we're going to throw it away again now?
Well, we do use a different field for the Texans every year. They get a new turf field every year. And think about it, we not only have the Texans there and the rodeo there, we have Monster Jam, and we have, there's Disney on Ice. And so you would be amazed from a logistical standpoint of what happens within a 3 or 4 day period at the stadium. One day you've got dirt in there for Monster Jam, and then you've got to take that dirt out because you can't use that same dirt for the animals for rodeo. And so you're taking that dirt, you're adding the new dirt in. Then after rodeo, within about 48 hours, you're taking all that out and putting in a brand new turf. So it is magical, and it is a feat to watch. And sometimes I come out of my office and I go and I watch just the magnitude of what happens from a project management and a logistics standpoint. It's pretty fascinating.
Okay, thanks. So back to turf though, and that makes sense, right? So Jessica, we're going to go to you for the soccer perspective here, right? So how do the Dynamo Dash play a role in the World Cup? I mean, are you watching, going to be a practice facility for teams? How are you involved otherwise? How does that work for you guys?
Sure. So it's a supporting role in some ways. It's an operational role, I would say, in some ancillary ways as well. And most importantly, it's a community aspect. But the short answer is, if any of the three people to my right call me at any point in the next 15 months, I answer, because it means they need something. And they have a scope that is operationally tied to a timeline and deliverables, and if we can help in any way, we will. Our facilities, both Shell Energy Stadium and Houston Sports Park, which is the team's training facility, both teams' training facilities will be incorporated. One will be a visiting team training site for the match day -1 training before they play their match at Energy Stadium. The teams in the group stage have the opportunity to train in market. They would train at Shell Energy Stadium. At the knockout rounds, they are required to train in market. They would train at Shell Energy Stadium. So that is 1 or 2 practice sessions for the 7 games at max. And then our training facility will be a base camp for a federation to be named. And we have ways we'll integrate there as well. That's the operational piece. I think that's an important deliverable, absolutely. But the opportunities for us to be creative and complementary and collaborative are sort of how do we engage soccer fans that are in the region, how do we engage soccer fans that are visiting, how do we connect our players and staff and club ultimately to this energy, before, during, and after. We have a lot of conversations with the corporate community about everything that's happening in this 39-day window. What are we doing now in the lead up to that? What will we be doing afterwards to capitalize on this? So I think that's the fan engagement and business community engagement side of it. And the community piece is massive. We believe it is our job to grow the game of soccer in Houston, have more neighborhoods playing, have kids in areas that are playing right now, have safer places to play, have better coaches teaching them, have more consistent programming available to them. This is the most accessible game in the world. You need a ball and you need something to kick the ball into. Hopefully it's a goal, but it doesn't have to be a goal. You can play anywhere, and we see, in all facets of our city that there's the ability for that to come alive. And we think our charitable arm, which is Dynamo Dash Charities, has a way to make sure that happens. We're working closely with the host committee and all of their legacy projects that are going on in the best way possible, and the incredible youth soccer community that already exists here, and making sure that we're connected to those pieces. So it's a few different facets, and all of them are evolving ultimately based on what we need to make this a success.
Thank you. So Chris, this is a World Cup first, right? This is going to be the biggest one, just basically on size and number of teams that are qualified. But also, it's the first time that there's not going to be a national organizing committee. FIFA is no longer outsourcing it. they're keeping it to themselves and they work directly with the cities. So your position is kind of, well, it's unique, or it's the first time that we have that. Can you explain to people how does that work, right? So are you reporting directly to FIFA? Are you reporting to Brian? Who do you work for technically? And what kind of KPIs are given by that party to you?
Yeah, so Ryan and I are basically the same organization. We're just under a different brand here when we call ourselves the host committee. So technically, yeah, I work for Ryan. Not technically, yeah, technically.
But the KPIs are a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't fire me for what I say here today. But we collectively, meaning the host committee, the sports authority, NRG Park, all of us, the Dynamo, it's FIFA's party, okay? So at the end of the day, our job is to prepare the city, the venue, for the party, and FIFA comes in and runs it. So that's the easiest way for me to explain something really complicated. So we have a contract with FIFA, our organization. That contract obligates us to lots of things that we need to do to prepare for this party. Those things cost lots and lots and lots of money. So our organization has taken the risk on behalf of our region to put on this event. We're a nonprofit organization. We don't get any of the ticket revenue, the sponsorship, the TV broadcast, the food, the beverage, the parking, all of that goes to FIFA. So we take on this significant financial obligation to put on this event through our FIFA contract again, so that our city can benefit $1.5 billion plus in economic impact, so that Houston can receive billions and billions of worldwide impressions, and so that we can create legacy projects that help make Houston a better place long after the final whistle blows on the last game. So that's what we do. And then we have to go out and raise all the money to cover that and make sure we're financially not underwater at the end of the day. And again, this is more than just putting on soccer events. In fact, I had an potential intern call me the other day, said she would love to work in soccer. And I said, this job has nothing to do with soccer. Right? It really does. It's the World Cup, but we're all about stadium operations. Marty touched on it, renovations to the stadium, installation of grass, airports, hotels, ground transportation. Safety and security is our biggest thing. Number one thing. Transportation is huge. How are we going to move 500,000, 600,000 visitors throughout the city? Organizing a 39-day fan festival. So there's so many moving parts to this, and that's what our organization is obligated to do and required to do under this contract with FIFA. So again, very, very trying to simplify something that's very, very complicated.
Okay, and then I'm going to see if I can poke some holes in there. The economic impact number. What's hidden there is who gets the economic impact. So a lot of that economic impact is in the hotel rooms. It goes to the FIFA. The FIFA pays for those. There's a deal there. It goes to the stadium where people go. It goes to the fan zone. So kind of what happens is that the tourists come in and they get stuck in this bubble. Sport tourists like their beer. Fan zone, they like the game. That's why they're there. They go to the stadium. They stay in the hotel and they live in that bubble. And FIFA loves that bubble because that's where their sponsors are, and that's where the games are, and that's where they want them to be. I'm guessing that you guys don't necessarily want them there all the time, and you want them to explore and venture out and to truly get the economic impact past the big hotels or Energy Park and the owners of the stadium, but also into the small businesses in the communities and all that stuff. How do you balance those two things? And I'm guessing that you're going to be the first person that FIFA's going to call saying, hey, what's going on here? Right? Stay in the fan zone, protect your fan zone, don't have non-FIFA affiliated fan zones. First, maybe he says like, no, it's going to be a party throughout the whole city and let's celebrate this. How do you guys balance that? I guess it's a question for both of you. How do you balance that?
No, I don't think we see it that way, to be honest with you, nor do I think FIFA does. We do expect like I said, 500,000 to 600,000 visitors to come and to spread themselves out throughout the greater Houston area, Galveston, the Woodlands, Sugarland, and beyond, filling hotel rooms, restaurants. I'm not going to be able to give you a number in terms of what the cost is on this from our end or from FIFA's end, but I can tell you it's hundreds of millions of dollars being directly invested into our community in contracts. right? So we are making it a priority to give small local businesses e-business. We have processes by which we can communicate the RFPs that are about to go out and make sure that those businesses can be aware. It could be a small company who's going to get some catering. It could be a small company that's going to get some safety, some private security, some custodial work, whatever it might be. We are very driven. Again, we don't just say $1.5 billion economic impact as a school. We want to make sure that that is being contributed back into the local economy, into the people of Houston. And again, this is about the contract. FIFA has its obligations. We have our obligations. They have their program called FIFA Connect. We have our program called By Houston, and they both have the same exact objectives of making sure that, again, all these contracts that need to be put in place to run this event are, for the most part, a major effort is being given to bring them back to the small businesses around Houston. It's easy to get to $1.5 billion. The post-Super Bowl report was done, so on actuals, and that number came to $347 million in 2017. So $347 million on one game with about, 5 days worth of events? We've got 7 matches and 39 days worth of events. So 1.5 million might even be conservative. And again, we probably would adjust that number in December when we know the teams. So if we get the Netherlands, for example, maybe that number goes up, right? But by the way, before I begin to say this, the artificial lights that Marty's talking about to grow the grass are coming from the Netherlands. So your technology is helping us grow hopefully very beautiful grass for the World Cup.
I've heard they're the best, so good
Yeah.
choice there. Yes. So right now, I'll go back and so we talked with Monica Paul Dallas, the president of Dallas Sports Commission, is also president of the FIFA, so he has in one function. Here, you guys chose to separate those. Was it your decision? Could you explain what led to the decision to just separate it and create 2 different?
I can make that a real easy answer, because I wasn't there when it was done. So having only been there 7 months, Chris has been there since 2019, so they set it up back then. But you and I were talking earlier, it makes a lot of sense to have one person heading up this entire effort instead of one person doing both. I mean, Chris, of course, with his experience and background and his work ethic, there's nobody better than Chris to lead this effort, and certainly working with all of our partners and the stakeholders, it makes a lot of sense. But from my perspective, it's great. Chris, he's going to look like me hair-wise probably in a few months, but but he's doing a fantastic job, and it allows us to focus on some of these other events that we're working on, the AAU and the World Baseball Classic and the rest, so that, while we continue to focus on this absolutely massive sporting event, we still make sure that the pipeline of events that are coming and that are planned are still going to be executed in the same quality and caliber as a World Cup.
I do want to dig more on the leveraging. And so let's start with Energy Park, because that's where the games happen. Can you explain what happens in the park overall? Is there a clear vision already during those 7 games or around those 7 games what you're going to do? Are there things planned for the Astrodome, for the center, for the 350 acres? What's happening in the other 340 acres?
Sure. So during that time, FIFA has a takeover in that area. Of course, FIFA has a takeover during that time. So FIFA is in control of the whole 350 acres. Not the whole, but they're in charge for the most part. So there's nothing that we can necessarily do when FIFA starts their day one of their takeover until they exit after. But what we can do is we can, prior to that takeover date, we can implement activities. We are thinking of things like soccer series, soccer-related activities at the park that we can implement and put forward. We've got a team working on 4 major events prior to that for our soccer series, and then maybe smaller events. And we've been in collaboration and cooperation with Ryan and his team about how, though they're doing the Fan Fest, and we're supportive of that, but there are things that we can do prior to that takeover around the park that can get the community engaged. Because when you think about it, not everyone is going to attend a FIFA game or the match, but we do want the community to feel that they're a part of this. So if we can put together activities that they can participate in up until that day, then that will kind of bring the community in and let them feel like they're a part of this huge global event.
Canetti, I'm going to rephrase the question then, because, yeah, you have to hand over the keys to FIFA, but then FIFA gets the keys back, and we want you guys to do this, right? Or is that Legends? Is that separate from you? Who's actually doing the operations around it? Which entity?
So I'm not understanding your question. So in terms of the goal modifications and preparing for FIFA?
Also, FIFA wants to do things in the 340 acres,
Yes.
right? But they're relying on local partners to implement that.
Yes.
Who's the local partner? Is that Legends then, or is that Energy Park? What's
The
it?
local, so we have an operator of the park. So
Yeah.
ASM Legends is the operator that actually manage the day-to-day operations at the park. And they are definitely tied and working with FIFA to make sure that those goal modifications and anything that needs to happen in terms of activations that FIFA is planning are in place. So yes, there is a partner, there's an operator that works with FIFA to make sure that happens.
And maybe that's Chris, or you one of you know if FIFA is planning at the 340 acres?
Yeah, so FIFA's going to use the entire footprint of Energy Park. It's one of the reasons why we won the bid. They looked at the facility. They said not only is it a great 72,000 seat stadium, but it's a big conference center and it's arena. In other cities, you don't have those assets on site. You may have to build temporary things with tents in them. So FIFA's taking full advantage of this awesome asset that we have, and we'll be using the center and the arena for operational purposes, hospitality, volunteer centers, storage, whatever it might be. So when FIFA comes in, they rent the entire footprint, okay? That gives them rights to do things, but they have to coordinate everything they do with the park, right? They just don't, and it's the park's team, management staff, that is, that's basically running it and working with FIFA on the operations of it. So keep in mind, and again, another reason why we won the bid is because maybe people don't know this, Houston's hosted more major sporting events than any other city since 2004. Most of those major sporting events, if not all of them, have taken place at that stadium. So people there know what they're doing. They've got, they've got the best practices in mind. So FIFA has its way of doing things. The park has its way of doing things. Those two entities work together to create the right strategy to operate the event. And I can tell you that for those of you who've been to a Super Bowl, Final Four, whatever it might be over there at Energy Park, the setup of this is entirely different, right? It's completely different. FIFA has its own specs, its own standards, you name it. So while we have our best practices over there, it's all about sort of catering to FIFA's exact specs.
And then the Fan Fest is close to Shell Energy Stadium. Are you involved, Jessica? Again, I'm not sure if Chris or you, but I'll ask you, right? So how are you guys involved with Fan Fest? Deliberately placed there because it's close to you guys? Is there kind of like a plan there and how to pull that together?
You want to start, maybe?
Before they answer, I just want to give a special shout out to Councilman Walsh Martinez. He sent me a picture, so I'm always looking around here somewhere, but I know you heard from him earlier today. It's his district that Fan Fest sits in, District I, so special shout out to him and his appreciation.
So I'll give a brief overview and then I'll let Jess answer. So we did pick Edo in part because the Dynamo Stadium, their Shell Energy Stadium is there. Obviously that's the home to our professional soccer teams. The area has become the go-to place for World Cup watch parties. If you were there in 2018 or 2022 for the finals in places like Brian Shank's Pitch 25, no question that neighborhood was the place to be. We also needed a location. To be honest with you, there's not a lot of places around Houston where we can shut things down for what will amount to be about 65, 70 days between setup, breakdown, and event. So we came up with this creative idea to put it in Edo and to fill in a venue around the stadium, around the bars and restaurants using private parking lots, private warehouses, public streets, green space, etc., just to create this really unique experience for people. So with that, we branded the district Football Fiesta, and we're going to be inviting soccer fans from near and far to come on down to the Football Fiesta to go to Dynamo Stadium or Pitch 25 or any of the other locations there, and also stop by the FIFA Fan Fest and experience that as well. So, and again, we're expecting about 500,000 visitors to the Fan Festival over the 34 days of operation.
Sure, and I'll add to it, but I think it's important because Chris has been driving this vision as far as the Fan Festival coming to life. I spend a lot of time, maybe more time than I spend at my house, in East Downtown. It's where the stadium is, it's where our corporate headquarters are. There are two differentiators about this neighborhood. One is the convenience, and two is the culture. And I have seen that come to life, big and small, major events, and when the stadium is activated, when the ballpark is activated just across the highway, but day to day, there are incredible businesses, predominantly bars and restaurants, that entertain both the visitors that are staying downtown, very easy to get to, short walk from most of our major hotels that are downtown, great green space, just a real introduction to the sort of arts and culinary scene of Houston in a condensed footprint that you wouldn't normally get in a city this size. And to have that be accessible via public transit, have parking available and accessible to our visitors who are staying downtown makes it unique. It also happens to be adjacent to our stadium, which allows us to, on the dates that we are not serving as a training site for the teams that are playing, allows us to activate the stadium in a unique way. There will be certain dates and matches where the crowd will be bigger than the fan fest footprint might allow, and it's how do we complement that? What can we do? And we are working closely with the leagues, the Dynamo Play, Major League Soccer, National Women's Soccer League, on what are we able to do to support and complement FIFA Fan Fest in terms of watch parties and programming and private events and activation, so that the home of soccer in Houston is alive and well during the biggest soccer event that the city has ever seen. So those two things make sense in my mind, and we have a variety of ways that haven't been announced but will be as we collaborate with our partners on what complementary things might be needed. Some of it will be fun, some of it will be things like restrooms and covered shade. It'll just be complementary pieces to the existing footprint that we already have quite a bit of, because we can welcome 20,000 people day in and day out. So excited for that to come together. One of many things that will be happening across the city.
Thank you. You used the word collaboration, and Brian, I'm going to go back to you for the bigger international perspective here. So I'm the director of the UT Sports Innovation Space. We bring international companies, sport tech companies to Texas. It's a tough sell international, because international people look at the West Coast, the East Coast, New York, Miami, San Francisco, LA, those are the A-list brands. They don't think really about Dallas. And I tell my Dallas friends that they're a little bit hurt, but they get it. And guessing Houston is a little stronger internationally, the National Space Center, of course, a big part of that. But do you share that view that with Texas, there's a lot of stereotypes in Texas that are not always positive? Do you try to collaborate with Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas to tell the story of Texas for international events? How do you see that?
No, I think that's right. I do agree with you that Dallas is really seen as a good spot, because Houston's better. And I say that both jokingly and in truth, that Houston is a very unique city, not just because of our location, but certainly the amenities that Houston has. We have 2 fantastic airports. We have 4 really great venues for different sporting activities. We've got the most diverse demographics in the entire country. We've got, I would say, the most diverse culinary scene than anybody else in the country. There's a lot to offer. There really is for Houston, and I think we do work with a lot of the other cities in the state to make sure that Texas in general is recognized. I think one of the really big benefits to Texas on a bigger scale is that we have a really fantastic program in the state of Texas called the Major Events Reimbursement Program. And frankly, I would say there's a good number of events that choose Texas specifically for that, because it's basically a reimbursement program for a lot of the expenses that an event might bring with it.